guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been something that I've been really excited to share with you guys over the past couple of days, and now I finally get to share it with you. So hope you enjoy it. It's long, but it's worth watching, I think, definitely. So yeah, very happy and thankful that I got to have this experience. Thank you so much, Ray Porter. I appreciate it so much. You are so generous, and I will always be grateful for this. Thank you guys to all the supporters. Don't forget to check out the links in the description, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you're new. So enjoy. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Well, let me first officially again thank you and welcome you to my little hive here.
Happy to be in the hive.
Thank you. We're happy to have you for sure. So I guess I'm kind of just wherever I have some questions to kind of, things I don't want to forget, but wherever the conversation leads, of course.
Okay, cool.
All right. So I would like to know,
yes,
what got you interested specifically in voice acting?
Well, voice acting is acting, and
Right.
and as an actor, I mean, I've done television and film and a lot of theater. And as an actor, you do what is required, for whatever the role is. And in this case, it was my voice. And thank God for VFX Artists, because, look at this wreckage. It was a question. I mean, in some cases, playing a role when, nobody else is there. And fortunately, I was able to interact with Kieran and with Peter on some stuff, and that was great. But as an actor, you just you do what the work is as it's presented, and meet those challenges the best you can. So I don't know that I'm necessarily a voice actor. I don't have a massive amount of voice acting credits, whereas there are other people who, it's like, wow, you did that, right, and that, and that, and that. And, I envy those people. Just an actor, You
consider yourself more of an actor, I guess with this, we kind of consider, because there's high standards for certain characters to have a certain voice, such as Darkseid. So I guess that's one of the things we were all like, oh, we can't wait to hear him. We can't wait to hear him.
Yeah.
But do you consider it a specific skill in
I
the
think
acting?
that this, I mean, I do think, vocally there, if you're able to get your voice to go to a certain place that serves the role, then great.
Right.
Without hurting yourself. That's another, that's another key.
It's an instrument.
It is an instrument, and, and you want to be able to actually talk to people at the end of the day. There's somebody shared a description with me about an author who wrote a character whose voice was like bloody gravel.
I saw you,
which I think is a brilliant description.
Yes, it is.
Now if I'm narrating an audiobook, or if I'm doing a role where, the voice requires that, I have to make it sound that way and actually not be bleeding. So there's a bit of a challenge with that.
Yeah, because I could see how it would take a toll.
Well, a lot of people can make a certain noise for a certain amount of minutes, but when you're talking about hours, and when you're talking about having to reproduce it at a moment's notice, you've got to figure that out. It's just skill. It's just a technique kind of thing,
right?
So that you're not hurting yourself, injuring yourself, And I was really pleased with the reaction when people did finally hear, the voice. People seemed pleased, and that was something I was nervous about, was, am I going to measure up? Because you look at some of the other actors who've lent their voices to this role, and that's a pretty formidable list. So I'm grateful that people like what I did, and I hope they continue to, as we see the whole film.
Yeah, I think it's only going to go up from here. I don't think it's going to decline. I guess the first time we heard it was in the Batman teaser.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's that one line.
It was just that one line. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, I mean, those teasers are packed with so much dialogue and like so many different voices.
And so much imagery too. I mean,
yeah,
there's so
and we're
much
sitting
to
there, like,
dissect.
just trying to take it all in. And as soon as we heard that, I was like, the first time I watched it, I paused it and I was like, wait, I think that was Darkseid's voice. I honestly didn't know if we would hear the voice before we actually got to the movie. Like, I thought we might just see.
I didn't either, frankly.
Yeah.
I was surprised too, you know. Yeah, it was like, wow. And I was pleasantly surprised because I expected, you know, I did what I did, and then I would hand it to the geniuses who were making this film, and it would be changed and altered and, you know, whatever. And there really wasn't that different from what I initially did. So I was kind of proud of that.
Yeah. It didn't seem like it. Well,
no.
When you were, I saw you on Dave Pena, the vodka stream. And of course, the clip of you doing.
God, I'm glad I wasn't drinking that. I was on there for like 4 hours. It was ridiculous.
Of course, the clip of you doing the Darkseid voice was being passed around.
Yes.
Right away. And since we had heard the voice in the Batman teaser, I guess we were all kind of wondering, like, how much, you know,
how different
was changed.
is it?
Yeah. Not that it would be like insulting or anything, because
no. Please.
He's not a real character, but you know, you would just expect that there would have to be alteration, I guess. But when you did that on the vodka stream, everyone was like, wow, that sounded like almost the same.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing that I was, I guess, proud of, was that when I did finally hear it, it was like, no, that's me. That's, you know, with a few tweaks in there, that's what I did. Yeah, I was like, okay, cool. Because, you know, I didn't know what to expect either.
Right. And I mean, were you expecting there to need
you have to forgive me. My voice is thrashed from, not from doing Darkseid, but from other work.
Yeah, I
so I keep clearing my throat and stuff. But
is it typical for, like, when you do narrations and stuff like that? Do you usually, have you ever like heard your narration and been like, I don't know if I hear myself in there? Or is it usually pretty recognizable?
You know, certainly with audiobooks, they don't change things that much.
Yeah.
You know, like a movie at some point, you know, but no, I've never heard anything where I'm like, that's just not me.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, and the funny thing is, like, I played the Twitch ad for my son, and he was like, that sounds cool, but I still hear you, you know.
Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think my mother said the same thing, because yes, I'm that kind of a dork. I went to my mommy and my son and went, listen, because I'm so excited about this whole thing.
We're doing it too. I mean, I told my son yesterday, I was like, guess who I'm talking to tomorrow? He's like, who? I was like, Darkseid. And he's like, what? You know, and I was like, well, he's not a real character. He's not a real person. You know, I was like, he's just a character, but there's a voice, you know, the voice you hear. And he's like, oh, wow. So it's just one of those things. I don't know. It's, I guess, just with certain characters, it's like, even with Batman, people are like, oh, what's he going to sound like? You know, or I don't know.
Sure, exactly. I mean, there's that expectation. And, you know, it's also, I mean, obviously, because people aren't, you know, there for the process. You know, I've had a lot of people ask me, did you just do the voice, or did you also do mocap? Did you just do, you know, and I mean, this fellow Richard Citrone, who Zack uses for a lot of different things. Right. I think I said in a conversation yesterday online, I did do mocap. Yeah. If it looks really good, it's probably Richard Citrone. But they did, you know, they did of us walking around and moving and that sort of thing. And they also did, they did capture on our faces. Right. So that when they're CGIing, they're getting the expressions and everything. So I'm very much in there, you know.
Yeah. And you shared that picture too.
It doesn't look, you know, that much like me unless I don't use moisturizer, but I am very much in there, which is it's really fun. Yes, the picture from the golf cart, which I have had for years. I know.
taking it away and
Easily
running
the
with
most
that.
unattractive photo of me that I think I've ever taken. But it didn't matter. I wanted people to get a sense of what it was like. And it was just, it was just joy. I mean, Aaron and Peter are amazing actors in their own right and really funny guys. And we just had a blast working together.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that was actually one of my questions. Since you guys did get to interact and it wasn't just like, oh, you're not, you guys weren't only doing voiceover. That was, your characters weren't just completely CGI. Like you said, you were actually doing mocap. Did you guys immediately have like a good chemistry?
Thankfully, yes. Because Kieran is such a good guy and Peter is such a good guy. And I try to be a good guy. And
I think but don't have to worry about that.
No, it was just there was an immediate, I mean, and on movies it tends to be that way anyway. You're there and you're there for a while, and whatever the challenges are at that time, you rise to meet them, and it helps to be able to like the people that you're working with, and by and large, you do. I've never, with maybe one exception, I've never worked with anybody that I wouldn't want to hang out with anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So, great guys.
And so is it going to be, well, I know we don't want to give away spoilers, but on screen between your and Kieran's characters, is that going to be the opposite?
They have a pretty complex relationship.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And obviously you saw in that preview, there is some interaction between, Darkseid arriving for the apocalyptic version of a Zoom meeting, through the fire. And,
that blew me away.
God, it was cool, wasn't it?
It's amazing. Well, first of all, I was wrong because in the trailer that we got on the 214 day, when we first see Steppenwolf kneeling,
yes,
I thought that was Darkseid.
So did I.
Oh, okay.
So did I. First, I went,
that was him.
Well, my first thought was like, oh my God, is that me with fire dripping off my? Oh, that's so cool. And I start looking and I'm like, nah, that could be Darkseid. That might be Darkseid. And then when I saw, the other, I was like, no, it is me. Yay, I got fire dripping off me.
Yeah. And then I felt bad because some people were like, oh, he's kneeling to Darkseid. And I was like, I think it's Darkseid. But I thought that, I guess, because of context. Like, sure. I thought that we had heard about, Darkseid was supposed to be in the movie and Steppenwolf's reporting something to him or whatever.
The thing I think that is one of the things I think that is so great about this entire experience is that there's just so much we simply do not know.
Yes.
And the speculation online is amazing and funny and sometimes heated. Right. And there's so much we simply don't know. I do love and am endlessly amused by people that think that I have something like a clue about what's going on because I really don't. I'm just as excited and surprised by all of it as everybody else is. But I know I did some stuff. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see what Zack and his artists have done with it. So,
yeah. And that's what I keep telling my husband, like our mind, like every time we get something, we're just like, the wheels are turning. And I mean, sometimes people were
how many bets do you think are going to be settled with the movie having come out? How much actual real money is going to exchange hands? Like, I'll bet you 20 that's this and this. No, you were wrong. Pay up, dude.
Yeah.
It'd be its own economy,
My husband has this thing where we won't even necessarily be debating, but he'll be like, what are you going to do if I'm right? What are you going to?
Yes.
And I'm like, you can't make a one-sided bet. But I
walk in the casino. Yeah. Come on.
True.
I'm with your husband, man.
He was convinced for the longest time that the hologram image that Batman is looking at, which it was a popular fan theory. So
yes,
to his credit, but we saw that in one of the old trailers,
right,
and not in the movie. So he was, from that time we saw it in the, I mean, like 2016 trailer, 2017 trailer, he was like, that has to be Supergirl. And I was just like, no.
I heard that theory floated. There was somebody's reaction video where they said that they thought that was Supergirl.
It was actually a pretty popular fan theory for a long time, because I guess they were kind of looking at like the legs were slimmer.
Right.
But I was like, it's a hologram, so it's not necessarily like full scale life size.
So he said it was Supergirl, and you said it was not.
Yeah, I was like, that's Superman.
Okay,
why would you be looking at a hologram of Supergirl?
What did you win? Because you were right.
The argument.
Right. Oh, the argument. Congratulations. That's marvelous. Well done.
I was like, I told you. But even when they first showed it in one of Zack's new trailers, when we just saw the bottom of it, again, the bottom of the cape, he's like, I know it's going to be Supergirl. But then we finally saw the whole thing. And I was like, and Zack had said something in a comment on Vero, I think, a long time ago, about, Cyborg projecting a hologram of Superman. And I was like, well, I don't think that's a coincidence.
Right.
Why would he be projecting a hologram of Supergirl, But I could see where, I mean, I still think Zack has not answered that question about Supergirl for a reason. But
he is an absolute master. I don't think I've ever known anybody who knows his audience as well. I mean, look at the trailer that came out with the Tom Waits song on it and those mother boxes and the analysis where you go. I mean, talk about an Easter egg. There's so many little tiny things. All this symbology, awesome. I mean, is genius, because anybody can promote a film, but to actually give the fans something to do. I mean, this is like an advent calendar, in a way, like up to opening. It's like you open and you're like, what is this going to be today? It's wonderful.
Yeah. And it really, I know some people are kind of like, we're seeing too much.
No.
And I'm like, no, it's 4 hours.
Exactly.
That's a lot.
Today's, the Steppenwolf trailer was especially long, right? And it was what, a minute, 2 minutes? Everything else has been a minute or under.
Right.
And it's giving too much away. It's 4 hours of movie, y'all. No idea. Haven't scratched the surface.
Yeah. And I think Zack has told people a few times, like, people will ask him, like, are you sharing too much? And he's like, not even close.
No.
Not even close. That's one of the best things about it. I mean, for some people, they don't mind knowing a lot or getting spoiled. But to me, I'm like, we've waited so long that whatever he decides to put out, like, I'm happy to see it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, just take it in and enjoy it, because
totally,
it's 4 hours. We're still going to be.
Think about how much analysis. Think about how much analysis is going to be happening after it's been seen.
Yeah.
How fun, Yeah. As people go through and dissect things, and it's. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the. I mean, him and Deborah are so like on it that they're like, oh, there's title cards. There's going to be little markers on the timeline. And I think that's helpful, though, for a 4-hour movie, because for us that are going to be, putting things out to talk about it, videos or whatever it is, our minds are going to be like, I mean, we'll probably have like, oh, this was in the beginning, this was in the middle, this was in the end, but to talk about specific things.
Well, I mean, you think about it in terms of
blended together.
Think about it in terms of a play, which is divided into acts.
Yes.
So in Act 2, Scene 1, this character does this, as a frame of reference. It's a classical form. It's, also like a book. Chapter 7, we're doing this. Chapter 6, I think it's remarkably helpful. And you're right. It also makes it a lot easier for you and others who have channels to be like, what are you talking? Oh yeah. In chapter 5. Yeah. That thing, I'm not saying it's called chapters or part or, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But, Yeah, it is. It is useful.
And I think, I mean, initially, I know we're just going to be like this is my overall thing, but to kind of go and like break certain things down. And Zack has a knack for making movies that we tend to talk about for years. We're still talking about BVS and
Watchmen.
Exactly.
300.
That people pick out and ask about. I mean, some things that people notice, I'm like, wow, I would have never thought to ask about this potential Easter egg, or his imagery and things like that. So it's really going to be cool to see what other people pick up on that I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't notice that.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, it's going to be, I don't even.
I got a message yesterday on Twitter from Jeremy Kirby, Jack Kirby's grandson.
That was,
I was blown away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a benediction. It's like, that destroyed me. I mean,
yeah, I saw him tweeting about it and I was like, that is awesome. It
was
the ultimate.
And what do you say? That's the thing is like, he says this thing and I'm on the floor, and it's like, I've got to respond, but what do I say to this guy? Just humbled and honored. Thank you.
Yeah.
Huge.
And I think that's one of the reasons why we have, as a fandom, flocked to you and probably overwhelmed you sometimes, because we're just like, every time we see you on a stream or anything, it's just like, you are super humble and
I am
a fellow fan. So
I've become a fan thanks to y'all. Y'all have infected me.
That's good to know.
Who do I see about that? No, it's impossible to not be affected by the joy and the expectation. And, a trailer drops and then I go and look at people's reactions. To me, it's so much fun seeing the excitement and seeing people analyze all of that stuff. It's a marvelous thing. It's a privilege to be a part of. Yeah. And I recognize too that, this did, I could say this almost didn't happen, but in reality, it didn't happen. It did.
It did. That's true.
How am I going to be any way other than completely humble and completely grateful about it all?
Yeah. And
the
reactions are awesome. Like, that's one of the reasons, that's probably one of the main reasons I started a channel. It's kind of surreal looking back on it, because I started my channel when the marketing for the theatrical version was going on. Right. So the trailers, like, those are some of my first videos are reacting to those old trailers. And it's been a crazy journey as a fan to see what it has turned into, because it was there before it was a movement.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy to see how it took off and just never lost momentum, actually kind of gained momentum. And it's
also changed people's lives for the better.
Right.
Saved lives.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I know. It's just, it's really awesome to see everything that people have organized and, even being able to buy things like this or yes. It's been surreal, very surreal. And I guess that kind of can lead into a question.
Yes.
Since you were saying it's not something that almost didn't happen, it didn't in the case of your character specifically, because how would you describe the difference between, well, they're polar opposites, but finding out your character wasn't going to be in the movie versus finding out that this was going to happen?
Well, it was an interesting experience. I'm familiar enough with Hollywood to know that, the old saying about it's never real until the ink is dry. With film and television, it's not real until the thing's been released and seen by people.
Yeah.
I've been in, TV shows and in movies where, I had all this stuff to do. And because of time constraints or them wanting to focus in another way, it'll be seriously cut down or cut out entirely. And it just happens. Yeah. So, it sucked to hear that I wasn't going to be in the film. That made me very sad. But you know, you sadly you get accustomed to that kind of thing. And so I just sort of rolled on. And but then I started hearing all of this rumbling of people not happy with the final results that they had. And I remember watching a video with Kevin Smith, who I really admire, on somebody, you know, doing a discussion and being angry about it.
I think I know what you're talking about.
You know, and saying, and we had Darkseid. And I was like, and then I started reading things online where people were speculating about, you know, which actors had played Darkseid in Zack's movie. And that was strange to see. Yeah. I even asked DC and Warner Brothers at one point, I was like, now the movie's out, can I tell people that I did in fact play it? And they were like, no. And looking back on it, I realized, of course they said no, you know, of course they did. What a stupid question for me to ask, but I had to ask.
Did they give you a reason? Or they just said like,
no, I mean,
not right now.
The reason were, you know, because there was this beginning groundswell of people saying, this is not what we wanted.
Yeah.
And so for me to come out and go, I played Darkseid would just be adding fuel to the fire. And they, you know, and they didn't, well, I understand that. I respect that. And then I think I asked somebody, you know, it's like, how long does an NDA last? And they were like, it lasts as long as it lasts, you know? So I never knew when it would be okay to like say anything. Suddenly, unofficially, it comes out that it was me. And I've told this story before, but you know, as you know, I think I had like 350 Twitter followers, you know, from narrating audiobooks, which was great, you know, and I got up one morning and I had like 2,500 and was like, what's happened? And then suddenly these things from my inbox saying, you know, hey, we hear you played Darkseid. And I panicked, like I mentioned before. Yeah. And then I couldn't say things. People were really nice. And it was interesting to engage with people, but I couldn't really actually say anything.
Yeah.
And I never knew if it was ever going to be shown. And so that viewing event with Zack, when he finally surprised everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I was as surprised. I was hoping, but I was as surprised. And shortly after that, I texted him and said, can I come out of the closet as Darkseid? And he went, yes. And so I did.
Please do.
You know, and it was great to finally be able to say, yeah, and to sort of answer people's questions. Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask you too. You probably answered on other streams, but
yeah,
I can't remember.
I don't care.
Everything that people talk about.
Oh, I'll repeat myself endlessly. Who cares?
Well, I do remember. I remember clearly the Kevin Smith video that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That a woman there, she kind of was like, not really supposed to say what she said, but.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like asking her, was there Darkseid in the version that you saw? And she was like, well, there was a Darkseid.
Yes.
So I mean, now in hindsight, it seems like maybe she saw Euxis.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
In some form.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of when like that really sparked the discussion about Darkseid. There was speculation, I think, within the fandom that Darkseid was supposed to be in the movie in some way. We knew he wasn't supposed to be like the main villain.
Right.
Or have like a ton of screen time.
No.
Like throughout the whole movie, but we thought that maybe he was possibly supposed to be in it. And then when that happened, I think a lot of us just were like, what?
Yeah.
You know, it was a big shock. And then, like you said, to not really know who was supposed to play it. I mean, it just was like.
Well, and there was also always the thought of, you know, like, this is great, but maybe I'm just a placeholder until they can find, you know, somebody who's more well known.
Really?
I read. Yeah, I thought that initially. I thought, sure, you know, they'll have me do it and say the things, and then they'll find a name. Oh,
I see.
To do it. You know, because I've never assumed anything until I know for sure. So I wasn't sure. And I read some pretty unkind comments online about, who the hell is this? Some no name. Yeah. I'm like, sitting here alone in my apartment. Pathetic image. Pathetic.
That's that's really unnecessary. And people,
well, the thing is, Zack has a great eye, and I guess in my case, a good ear.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he sees people. Think of the people that he's cast before.
Exactly.
And when I started seeing people talking about that, I went, yeah, you're right. You're right. Really, just, I was saying this to myself, just shut up and trust Zack.
Yes. I remember.
And a pretty good way to live, I gotta say. Just shut up and trust Zack.
Yeah. I remember when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman, and people were kind of freaking out, and I was like, it's Ben Affleck. Like, why are you nervous? Like,
nobody remembers that people freaked out at every single Batman who's been on screen.
Yes.
I remember Val Kilmer. What? Michael Keaton. What? Christian Bale. What? Robert Pattinson.
Exactly.
What? People freak out every time Batman's cast,
Yeah.
and every time in some way or another, that actor delivers the role really, really well.
Yeah.
Some are more liked than others. That's your own taste.
Right.
I've always been wrong every single time. I've been like, wow, that's an interesting choice to cast. Wow. And then I see it and I'm like, no, they knew what they were doing. Damn.
Yeah. I think even, I guess, well, he's like probably the most at the time. He was like the biggest name as one of the members of the League that was cast. I mean, Henry Cavill wasn't as,
right.
big.
Jason Momoa is known.
Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller. I mean, pretty much all of them. Ray's never been in a movie. Like, it's incredible. And for Ben Affleck, I was like, oh, I'm not worried. But, people who are super like hard on those characters, they're like freaking out. But his supporting cast is like, especially in Man of Steel, the supporting cast is more of the people that we've been familiar with for years. And so I always thought that was really interesting that he's like, I don't need these huge names to get people.
He sees actors. He sees actors. He sees people that are going to help him tell his story in the best way possible. And whether they, are ridiculously well known or not, I think is less important to him than telling the story.
Right.
You see it time and time again. Can you imagine anybody other than Ray Fisher playing the role of Cyborg? I can't.
Yeah, and we didn't even get the full. I mean,
and you haven't seen what that story is, and you haven't seen all of the wonderful things he can do.
Exactly.
So it's really, really exciting, and there's so much vindication to happen across the board. All of these people,
100%.
It's like, wow, I think Ray is going to show us a lot.
I am so happy for him. Yes, because, well, you said you haven't seen the theatrical version.
No, I never saw the theatrical version. I've heard enough about it and seen enough images that I can glean a lot of information that makes me glad I didn't see it.
Yeah. Yes, I could. Yeah. I understand that for sure.
Yeah.
For Ray, especially Ray Fisher.
Yes.
We didn't get to really see his range as an actor.
No.
Like at all.
No.
So I think every time, Zack says that he's the heart of the movie, I mean, even when just the little pieces that we've gotten from trailers or teasers, it's like, wow. That is just, I mean, as soon as his teaser came out, everyone's like, we're going to be waterworks. I mean,
yeah,
it's going to be an emotional roller coaster, but really for everyone, that all the characters really, and even characters like yourself that we didn't even get a taste of. I mean,
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff.
And just hearing and seeing everything restored to at least a little bit what we expected before the movie came out. including like Steppenwolf's voice and things like that. We
And you had made that comment about him not saying mother over, over and over. I never knew about that, but we're not here to rake the coals over that particular fire. But Kieran Hines is an actor that I have admired for decades, and you take somebody with that kind of power, and let him loose, it's going to be formidable. And I think that this, I said on Twitter, strap in. You have no idea what's coming. As Steppenwolf, damn.
Yeah, he's just going to feel so much more like a villain. So since your voice wasn't really altered much, do you know if the other, like Kieran's voice or Peter Guinness's, we
made specific vocal choices for these characters, all three of us, and what I hear of Steppenwolf is very close to what he did. Again, it's not overly processed, it sounds like otherworldly, but that's Kieran Hines. He's just a damn genius.
It's incredible.
And Peter Guinness, who's not terribly well known. I mean, people know him from Alien 3.
I recognized his face.
Yeah, that's
when I saw him.
That's the great thing of a character actor. It's like, oh, you're that. You're that guy. And he's been around forever and is a brilliant actor. And again, I think people are going to love Darkseid. I think people are going to love Steppenwolf.
I think what's interesting about Darkseid is that we never really saw anything of him in old trailers or anything like that. I think we kind of almost along the way of fighting for the Snyder cut, it kind of was like, I don't want to say forgotten, but like just one of the things that we were like, oh yeah.
I think I accidentally was the person who may have broken the news that Darkseid was actually involved.
Really?
Yeah, my Twitter savvy is pretty bad, and it was really lame back then. And somebody asked me a question, and I said, just being polite, I was like, well, Kieran, and then Peter Guinness, and people were like, that's Darkseid, and they grabbed it, and I was like, no,
delete. Too late.
I didn't. Yeah, I've learned to be a lot more circumspect about things. So,
well, I think Zack might have brought him up before.
He may have done,
but maybe I can't say when, because there's just been so much stuff over the years that was.
No. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm wrong. It was. I think people knew that that Darkseid was there,
but not.
They didn't know who was playing it, and I was the one who said Peter Guinness.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. A lot has happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We were kind of like, I think when the DC fandom trailer came out.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as he turned and we got that grimace on his face.
Oh, so cool.
I was like, we hadn't seen anything about him at all. Like Zack hadn't shared anything about him.
No.
And instantly when he turned around, we're like, that's Darkseid. Like we forgot, like he's supposed to be in this movie. And that shot was just.
Oh, again, endlessly entertaining to me sitting here, in lockdown, looking at reaction videos on YouTube, watching people like, oh, this is great. That's Darkseid, and freaking out. Super cool. Is that your husband?
Yeah.
Hello, husband. Hello.
Oh yeah. He's going to come when we're done. Yeah, it was just, and to get like a close-up shot and the music hits that chord when he turns around. It was just, it was perfect. I wonder, we haven't heard him, right?
No, you haven't heard him yet.
We haven't heard him. Okay. I didn't think so, because sometimes in the teasers, when all these different voices and like dialogue are coming out, sometimes the Steppenwolf voice sounds different in like different teasers, depending on what he's saying. And so I'm kind of like, is that Steppenwolf or is that, I don't think we've heard Darkseid though.
No.
So far, but I can't, I have a thing for voices. And so I'm interested to, it's weird, but I'm interested to hear what he sounds like
course,
being another apocalyptic character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then seeing you guys stand there with Granny Goodness, oh my gosh. It's, yeah. I mean, Apocalypse itself looks amazing.
It definitely does.
When they showed you, well, not you.
The throne room.
Yeah, that was probably you walking.
Yeah, that throne room scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Did you have any idea
design
that it was going to look
tastes
like that? Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I had no clue that it was going to look like that. I mean, you know, you have to understand, like, as Uxas, when I'm you know, driving that weapon into the ground to create the Omega, I had a broomstick and was in a really fetching mocap suit and doing that move, you know, and whacking it on the floor.
So that was you. That wasn't.
I can't say. I know that I did do that move. What was eventually used may have been Richard. I don't know. You know, I know what I did, but you know, they may have gone, okay, and then Richard did it, and they went, that one. So. But
it is cool to know that, like, I mean, like you said, some people with these CGI heavy characters. Sometimes it is kind of hard for people to tell, even though we see the resemblance in the face with, you know.
Well, and like, that's achieved by you wear this, in my case, kind of uncomfortable because I have a giant head. Like, I can't do hats. They put this thing on you that has, it has two cameras with a light, and it's like right there.
Yeah.
And it's your face, which is odd. You know, it's
it doesn't look.
Here's this, you know, lycra mocap thing suit to wear, and we're going to put this on your head with these little cameras in your face and a light in your eyes. Go act.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
Don't let it distract you.
Have fun storming the castle. Yeah. Another challenge, you know.
Yeah. It seems, I mean, just having a light in your face would seem. Do you kind of get used to it or not really?
It disappears eventually.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, you're thinking about the scene. You're
just, I
mean, you definitely don't want to, you know, first of all, you know, you never look directly at camera unless it's a really specific thing. But can you imagine you're just looking at the camera, you know, like.
That would be
probably
dangerous.
Wouldn't play well. Darkseid would look a lot less threatening somehow.
And I mean, again, even just like the voices, people have high expectations for how these characters should look based on, you know, their comic book or animated versions.
I think Darkseid's pretty close.
I think he is.
You showed that well in one of your videos.
Above. Yeah, because someone made like a half and half.
Yeah. And
it was like, yes.
Yeah.
That is, it's amazing. I remember when Zack posted, I don't even know what it's called technically. It was, Gal Gadot was there. She was doing AVR.
Yes.
Called, right? And there was like
well done.
Thank you. I probably only remember because of that post, but the screen, I mean, what she was looking at was what we've now seen as the, you know.
Yes.
Uxas. I thought I remember that. Was that the first time you saw that too?
Yes.
Okay. Because I thought I remember you saying, so that was the first time you had seen. Well, is that previous? Is that, what would that, is that, it's just like
basically, yeah. And then I'm assuming that, you know, the reason she was in that session was I don't know, don't quote me on this, but I'm assuming that it was narration of the history at that point. ADR is trippy. You stand in a dark sound stage and there's time code running and then you hear 3 beeps. Have you ever done ADR? It's a trip.
No.
No, it's like, you know, the rhythm, bop, bop, bop. Yes.
Okay. It's like okay. It's like the
so it matches.
What are they called? What are those things called? We would use them in choir.
French
all
fries,
the time.
Vacuum cleaners, banjos. Trying to help.
They keep the
hot air balloons.
The beat. Like a, what are they called?
Like a metronome.
Yes, there you go. Yes. There you go.
It's sort of like that. Yeah. I mean, it's a steady beat that you can get into, and it's worked with the time code, the people who are engineering it, so that when this person's lips move and say yes, the voice is right in sync with it. It's a tricky thing doing ADR sometimes, but it has to be done. So
yeah, I imagine it would be. But yeah, I think it was pretty interesting too.
It was early on.
Was it cool to see that for the first time?
Yes, it was cool to see that. Yeah, it's cool to see everything. I mean, did you see that DC bomber jacket, the thing from the DC shop today? Have you seen the Darkseid bomber jacket?
And I saw
R.I.P. my wallet, man.
A bomber jacket. Oh man.
Yeah, have you not seen it?
Is it where all the shirts are too? The DC Comics?
Yeah, so if you go to DC shop and just type in Darkseid.
Okay.
And there'll be the shirts. And there's a new snapback ball cap, and then they put out this bomber jacket. I want it so bad. It's so expensive. But it's so cool.
Oh, hey, the Funko Pops pop up at the top. Cool. Oh, there it is. Oh.
Right.
Oh my gosh, when you
stitching with the upside down. Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Cool. Yeah.
Really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, they've been putting, I mean, it was really cool that they made that. Those were the first shirts that they dropped.
I was, that it's something kind of happened to me the day that dropped. Honestly, I remember as a kid seeing people wearing Spider-Man t-shirts, Batman t-shirts, Superman t-shirts, that kind of thing. And something about that and it being official from, don't get me wrong, I already have a closet full of the most amazing stuff in the world, thanks to Ink to the People and other sites, these artists out there. But to have the official DC shirt, it really, and then seeing like the McFarlane figure and seeing the thing, with Weta Workshop coming out, it means a lot to the 9-year-old inside me growing, I can say
imagine
that's me, wow, that's me.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
It's very strange. It's like, but it's super cool. It's super cool.
And that was kind of like, I mean, we had seen Baby Darkseid, as Zack called him.
Yes.
In the history lesson, but we're kind of like, are we going to see full-blown grown Darkseid before the movie comes out?
Yeah.
And that the shirts were kind of like our first.
Yeah, that was really the sort of the first official image, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that image because I knew what he looked like from way back. But to see it, yeah. It was really fun.
That was like our first good idea. And then when the DC fandom, when that teaser came out before the DC fandom trailer, everyone's like, yeah, he does look like that.
Yeah.
And it looks like Darkseid. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Did you have any certain inspiration for the voice for him? Or was it kind of just like, he looks like this, it makes sense for him to sound like this?
That's actually really apt because that's basically where it was. I saw him and thought about what his world would be like. And basically there's really no other way for him to sound.
There's not.
I mean, I'd love to hear Gilbert Gottfried over those voices,
Yeah.
All of existence shall be mine. But, when hold out hope on that. No, it was just the way that he would, I mean, his skin looks like broken stone.
He does look like stone.
And so there was a part of me that wanted to kind of have that present as well.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think, and like you said, the bloody gravel description was.
Bloody gravel is a great description.
Yeah. In a good way.
Yes,
in
exactly.
a good way. And then since we have like the higher definition teaser now with the voice, I mean, like I said, the lower quality audio, we were still like, oh my God, this sounds amazing. But to get it cleared up and like really, to
hear that lower EQ in there and that bass, and it was like, that sounds good.
Yeah. Even the tempo sounded slower to me, but I could be wrong.
They may have done, You know, I don't know.
Trailer.
Yeah.
The teaser.
And there was also that one line that I said that wasn't in the Twitch ad. So
yeah, I noticed that.
Lots of options. Lots of different things.
Yeah. And it matches. It really does. It really does seem like that's the route you went. Like, well, he looks like this, his voice would sound like this.
I'm glad people are pleased with the choice. It seemed right, and I'm very glad that people are happy with it.
Yeah,
it would really suck if people weren't. So, I mean, I'd be sad if people weren't.
I could imagine did you feel the pressure?
A little bit. I mean, I think a lot of it was self-imposed, you know, again, that, you know, shut up and trust Zack. Zack was not going to let me suck or not tell the story correctly.
Right.
And, you know, with his guidance and trusting him, there's really no need to stress about it at all.
Yeah.
But I still found ways to stress because that's just me, you know? And so there was that nail bitey thing of like, gosh, I hope, especially after so many months with the fandom and developing the respect that I have for the people within it. That feeling of, boy, I sure hope everybody likes what I did, you know? And I was really, really happy when people were pleased. I was relieved when people were pleased because I have a hell of a lot of respect for the people in this fandom.
We feel it.
And
we do.
Well, good. Because, so I was a little nervous, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's because you want it to be,
I want it to be, so it's like, I want it to be amazing. I want it to rock the world. You know, I want people to feel like they're getting what they want from this. And you know, I want to do my best. So, you know, I do care a lot about it. And I'm happy that people are pleased so far. So
was it, I guess one of the things that was interesting about your character was that as soon as we found out, well, I could say most of us in the fandom, that you were supposed to be, well, first when we found out there was supposed to be Darkseid, we were like, this is upsetting, you know?
Yes.
And then for you to finally, because I remember seeing a long time ago, you replying to people and kind of being like, I'm sorry, I wish I could say more. Then when you were able to, I mean, even kind of before that, I guess, was it strange, not in a bad way necessarily, but that we were all so eager and excited, even not even having ever seen or heard anything from what you did?
No, it wasn't strange to me. It makes total sense. At that point, I realized that, you know, I was like, this is a group of people who are very clear and focused about what they want, are incredibly intelligent about the things they like, and are passionate about it. And there was a lot of very eager, very probing questions that I couldn't answer then, and I probably wouldn't answer now.
Right.
Because I didn't want to give anything away. You know, you want it to all be revealed on the day. But that was hard because people came with some very specific questions, some of which I didn't even know the answer to.
It tends to happen in this genre.
Again, you know, I used to have an adage doing theater. I still adopt this as a slogan I operate under as an actor. The audience is the smartest person in the room. And in this case, the audience is absolutely the smartest person in the room. So, you know, I'd say it's a race. I'd say it's somewhere between the audience and Zack are the smartest people in the room. But I trust both of y'all.
We follow his lead. Well, he said something interesting on a podcast interview recently. That kind of talking about what the fans kind of just saying, like, that we've never really said to the studio or, you know, in our journey getting here, we've never really said, like, do it this way. You know, we're kind of just like, well, we like what he's doing. So just like whatever it is, we want it.
Can we please let this person's vision be seen?
Yeah, like we're not really saying like we want it this way, done this. You know what I mean? Just whatever it is.
The thing, I mean,
we're on board.
Looking at it, you're not going to tell Van Gogh, I want a sunrise and a dancing moon and put a whale in it, and there should be a penguin in there somewhere. You don't get to you don't get to tell the artist, chapter and verse. You just want to see Van Gogh. You want to see what he's going to do. And the same, I think, is true with Zack. It's like, no, there was never anybody in the fandom like, it should be this and it should be this and this is how. Let the man's vision be seen.
Yeah.
And it's going to get seen.
Yeah. And it's,
look what y'all did.
It is, I think, compared to a lot of other movies, his style is just artistic for filmmaking.
He's very much, he's a storyteller in the best sense of the word. I'm an admirer and was an admirer of his work long before I got to know him. He really goes very deep with his characters and with his storytelling. And I'm perfectly happy. I think anybody in their right mind would be like, yes, go. You tell the story. Just tell it. Go.
Yeah.
And we're going to see that. We've already seen snippets of it. I mean, everybody, for those people who did see the previous iteration of this title, are saying that what they've seen in the trailers is nothing like. I mean, was that your experience?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, I already kind of knew. Well, I mean, the whole point was that we knew there was a different movie. I mean, that's why #release the Snyder Cut became a thing, but we didn't know
how different, right?
Like we kind of just knew based off of the trailers that we saw before the movie came out.
Exactly.
Wow, there was a lot.
Let the man tell his story.
Yeah, this is not what we were sold.
Right.
Prior to watching it.
So thanks to the efforts of the fandom, thanks to the efforts of this movement and this community, the story is going to get told.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It's amazing.
And then as Zack slowly started sharing things and having not seen the theatrical version himself, I think probably just through the fans and probably restoring things, I think he still doesn't completely I think he still kind of underestimates how much was not his in the movie.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
And that's part of, I mean, I'm blissfully unaware of just how different a film this is, and I'm happier that way.
No, yeah. I totally agree.
I mean, I didn't want to watch it because I got cut, and it's like, hey, you're not on the baseball team, but you want to come watch us play? Well, no.
Yeah, exactly. The only way we really knew how different it was just because he started sharing stuff.
Right.
And he said that he thought, I guess on one of the streams he did, I don't remember which one, he thought at some point, he thought they would kind of ask him to stop sharing stuff, but they never did. So he's kind of just like, okay, well, the fans like it. And when people ask him questions and he responds like, I have no idea, or, whatever that is, it kind of just, we're like, wow, but seeing it in action compared to just certain images or, stills, seeing it put together. And I guess one of the most satisfying things about watching the teasers and watching the trailers and everything that we've gotten so far is knowing that that's exactly what we're getting this time.
Yeah.
It just makes it so much better watching it over and over again, or, waiting for the next thing to come out. And it's just like, oh, what a relief.
How wonderful. Yeah. What a celebration. I just wish COVID wasn't a thing, because there's a whole lot of people that I need to shake hands with and hug and say thank you to. So hopefully when they start letting us go to cons again, I'll be able to do that.
Yeah. And it would have been nice to really have it's cool that they're doing a virtual premiere,
Yes.
But for you guys, I think it would be, I mean, it probably
I
just
would
would
have
have been
loved to
the
have
icing
walked
on
the
the
red
cake.
carpet. I'd love
Yeah,
to have gotten
exactly.
dressed up and like
Yeah.
have my picture took. That'd be
Yeah.
fun. I told Zack that I was going to, draw my own backdrop and lay down some, like a red piece of cloth or something and
Yeah.
wave in front of a strobe light.
Put the ropes.
Yes, put the ropes up. Exactly. Have like security.
Have some flashes going.
Have my son in a jacket and sunglasses talking into his sleeve. No, that's my security. Yeah.
It would have been cool to see you guys all like together.
Oh, I would love to just, I mean, just to stand with Ray or be there with Kieran and Peter and, and Jason, who's such an amazing guy.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. I was at the BVS premiere in London and it was just magical.
Oh, yeah.
So to be a part of, that'd be brilliant. I'd love that.
Yeah. It'd be really cool to see all of you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully at some point you guys can have some kind of like.
Well, yeah. And I was about to say, this is a real different deal. This isn't this isn't the model of the way things have been done before. So I think it's entirely appropriate that there isn't the premiere with the limos and the red carpet and the flat, because this is real different. Maybe this is the way of some things in the future. Who knows? But I think that given the nature of this story and the journey that it's gone on for so many years, I don't know that the classic sort of premiere model really fits,
That is a good point. I mean, everything about it is unique. Everything is so.
Yeah, we've come at it from a totally different direction.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a huge fan from the beginning, from Man of Steel and everything. I mean, his other movies too, but when they started this DC universe, huge. I mean, hooked immediately, and I love that movie more every time I watch it. It's never gotten old to me.
Yeah,
being a fan, but then this is just a totally unique experience.
It is
being a fan. Like I don't think any fandom has ever had this, what we're doing right now. Or
I don't think so. I think it's a new day.
Being so connected to a director, I mean, a renowned filmmaker, a cast, even crew. This is only the second interview they've ever done. When I started my channel, interviews were never even a thought, or like anything like this. It was just like, hey, people like this and they like to talk about it. And this is kind of a thing. I like to talk about it too. And I'm excited, it's really all it was in the beginning. But this has allowed everyone to, it's just a crazy relationship that has really come from this. My first interview that I was invited to be a part of was with Fabian Wagner.
Right.
And that was awesome because he's been a big, supporter, of course.
Yeah.
And he had famously said, and he told us again during the interview that, he cried from start to finish watching the theatrical version, which is really heartbreaking to hear from someone that was part of making this. And
it is.
I remember when Zack shared the picture, the credits with Fabian Wagner's name on the screen.
Yeah.
I was just like, I was so happy for him. And I was like, I hope he's crying tears of joy this time.
Yeah.
Because
definitely
it was, I remember reading that in an interview or an article, but then when he said it again during the interview, like hearing him say it, I was like, oh man, that is just, he tried to say like, oh, it probably sounds dramatic. And I was like, no.
No, not when you're that committed. Not when you're that committed to doing the work that you do and spend that much time doing the work that you do. To see it altered in a way that goes against what you felt it should be is incredibly hard.
Yeah,
I totally sympathize with him.
Yeah, I mean, some people might think, oh, well, this is just Hollywood. This is, but it's more than just a job. To people working in these movies, I mean, they dedicate years of their life to this.
Years, literally.
I mean, this is their work. Like, no one wants to see their work changed or destroyed or made unrecognizable to them. So I totally Like I really felt for him in that way. And even, I mean, Junkie XL, like, when have there's never been a fandom that's been able to interact this closely with people, you know, outside of the major trades and people that do this kind of thing for a living. But you know, it's just really put it.
Well, again, I think a lot of models are getting changed. I think a lot of, you know, one of the after effects of COVID, for instance, is I think a lot of old accepted things are being challenged. Do you know? I mean, how many people are working from home now? And how many people will continue to work from home now when it's safe to go out? Things are changing, and we have to adapt. It's also kind of wonderful that there aren't the same barriers. You know, that I'm able to come and have a nice chat, you know, sitting here in my silly vocal booth, and talk about this movie that's coming out. And it isn't just the thing of press junket. Okay, go sit in a chair and answer the same question all day long. You know, it's a different deal. And people recognize that.
We do.
Plus, y'all are pretty nice, you know, so it's nice to chat with you guys. So
I hope, you know, I hope that's
it's mostly well behaved.
Yeah. Yeah, it just gives us so much more appreciation, I think. And Zack has, you know, really shown that too, interacting with the fans so much. And they could tell that he's like, you know, of course he appreciates what we've done to get the movie out, but even more so on his personal level with AFSP and everything.
Absolutely.
It seems like they kind of didn't expect it to blow up the way it did within the fandom, him and Deborah. So you know, it's really awesome.
I'll tell you something. I'm not at all surprised. Zack and Deborah are not only geniuses at their work, they're also some of the best people that you'll ever meet. It's no surprise to me at all that the fans would rally in support of a really important and worthy cause in the way that they have. It's marvelous, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
$500,000.
It's Good Lord. And counting.
And counting. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
And it seems like, I mean, even beyond this movie, I mean, it's not just going to stop, you know, when the movie comes out. It seems like this is kind of something that we're
I'm hearing a lot of people talking about what's next. You know, I'm hearing lots of, I mean, that was trending today pretty hard.
It was.
You know,
what would you like to see moving forward?
I'd love to continue to explore this character. Of course I would. You know, the only thing that I can really say with any real conviction about this whole thing, because certainly I don't have any insider information, but I think the fandom in this community has shown in the most glorious of ways that if you want something, it gets responded to. So if that's something that people want enough, who knows? Right. You know.
And I think this has just shown that. I mean, this has opened the door, I think, in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
I mean, unfortunately, in the beginning, it was kind of seen like, oh, this toxic fandom is just, you know, they're a loud minority that's...
I never understood that. I mean, I've seen some pretty ugly internet battles and squabbles that I get tagged in for some reason. Like I'm going to, what am I, a referee? Leave me alone. You know, the mute button is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But
I have to do it sometimes because I'm just like, I'm not here for that.
Toxic and all that word gets dragged out quite a lot. I've not really seen it. I know that there were some things that happened between some people. Yeah. I wasn't there for it. I heard about it after the fact. Ripples happen here and there, you know, little bits of drama. It's going to happen in any community of any size.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the movie's getting seen. And at the same time, 500,000 and counting is being raised for suicide prevention. You know, at the same time, people are creating art that's amazing. and all of the creative endeavors around it. I mean, every single day I see drawings and sketches and stuff that people have taken their time with that is just, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
So people are at home creating it, you know, you've got your show that you do, you know, and the reactions and all of that stuff, which is wonderful. And there's all of these other channels, you know, that are doing this stuff. I mean, look at everything that has sprung up as a result of this community. It's marvelous.
Yeah.
You know,
and I mean, I was never personally involved with anything like that. I mean, like you said, and that's always kind of what I've said too, is that any kind of fandom or group of people that follow a certain thing, there's going to be people that are just don't want to get along, or they, you know, they're trying to get attention the wrong way, which I think is kind of where that came from, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, and again, I'm blissfully ignorant of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I just know that you pack any group of people together, there's going to be a fight at some point. It just is sadly the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And the detractors of the fandom, people on the outside looking in, have really grabbed onto that. But I think, I don't know, I just think slowly, as this has gathered momentum over time, the naysayers are finding a lot less to pick at, and it's wonderful. I also know that this fandom, when they decide to be their best, is formidable and wonderful. And I am really grateful that I've been shown kindness by everyone.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's the important thing. It's like the majority is not that.
No, and you know what? People are going to fight. That's you know, that's just, that happens.
Right.
Thankfully, nobody's been mad at me yet.
I think they're too afraid. I liked that. I liked that comment that someone sent you today. What do they say? Can you type my name?
Yes, that was Reza. Reza Ostamian. Yes. Can you type my name in the Darkseid voice? Can you hear this?
I was like, this.
That was genius.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, people have made, I mean, same. I see people that are like, wow, they make art that is like better than stuff you see that comes out from official, not to putting things down, but like, I mean,
styles, all these different, I mean, I see stylistic stuff, and that's what I love, is that you get to see the artist's hand in this work, even though they're drawing Darkseid.
Yeah.
It's in their style, which is so great. You know, I've actually got a couple of the pieces hanging on my wall here that I just,
they are that good. Like, sometimes I'll see something and I'm like, is that an official thing?
But that's the thing, is I'm constantly wanting to reach out to these artists and buy a print of what they've done. I mean, just the bottom line is, I don't have that kind of money to spend on. Also, it'd be a little weird to have guests over and be like, here's the role I played all over every wall, and here's my shirts. You know, I mean, I'm realizing, you know, my t-shirt drawer is pretty much full of this. Little odd, but I've been in lockdown.
Plus, I think you deserve to celebrate just as, you know, much as the rest of us.
It's fun. You know, I danced around the house when I saw the McFarlane figure, and then Weta, God, yesterday when Weta, I was like freaking out.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, if I had limitless funds, the house would be full of the artwork that people have done, because it's wonderful. You know, and I mean, people have been really nice about like, can I send you this for free? It's like, no, you created this. I should pay for it. You know, that's my rule. I'm grateful that people would like to give me something. I think that's marvelous, and I'm very happy to accept a gift. But when you're talking about someone who put in work and made art, it's like, you should be compensated for that. You know? So the stuff that I have bought.
Oh, well, that's very generous of you.
No, it's important. Artists need to be paid.
And even, well, I guess the first, well, wasn't, it took a while for it to actually become something official, I guess. Is Victor, aka Mighty Pegasus, who won the contest a long time ago. I think that might have been before we knew that the Snyder Cut was coming out.
Yes, it was. I think it was before.
I think they kind of gave us a good.
I have that piece on my wall. Actually, I have the.
You saw one.
I drove out to Burbank specifically to see it. Somebody posted a photo of it, and I knew exactly where it was, and I got in the car and drove out there because I wanted to see it.
Yeah, and that's pretty interesting because he made that before. I mean, we hadn't seen Darkseid on really anything official because I think that was before we knew. Yeah. So we had definitely not seen anything. So was it kind of surreal to see? I mean, not even knowing. I mean, did you ever think we were going to see it?
I didn't know. I hoped. Yeah. But I didn't know. I mean, I honestly thought it would just be one of those things of like, yeah, you were in the movie and now you're not. Bummer. But we hear you played it. You're really nice. And, I just kind of thought I'd be trapped in the land of can't really say anything about it, and maybe a few years would go by and I'd be like, okay, yes, it was me, but I never thought, back when it all started, I had no clue that HBO Max would put it out there. So thank you, HBO Max.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Zack said, it was kind of the perfect storm that, I mean, otherwise we wouldn't, especially for 4 hours. I mean, I mean, I'm happy to go whenever it is someday in the theater. I'll be there.
I'd love that to go to the theater and to sit and then have an intermission. Yeah. Get up, go get, refreshments or whatever, chat a little bit, come back in, catch the second half. Yeah. I hope that happens at some point. That would be cool.
Yeah. Me too. Definitely. Especially knowing that he shot everything in IMAX. It's just like, that's an experience.
Seeing it in an IMAX theater. What?
I mean, even when he posted that picture.
Yes.
From the theater that he was in, it was like, it was the Uxus. And we were like,
I saved that picture. Yeah. I was like, that's going in the vault. I love that.
Yeah. And we could see now from the first time we saw him in the trailer to now how much, the detail is, I said on my reaction that I was like, I want to see what really happened to him. But it's like, I know that that's the Omega symbol. Yeah. People were like, it's the Omega symbol. I'm like, I know, but he is damaged.
I told somebody it's from a really terrible bike accident that I had. No. That's what
he got impaled.
Yeah.
That happened to my husband.
Oh yeah, no, I believe me. I've had some pretty picturesque bike accidents, but yeah.
It's very interesting looking.
It is.
The chest.
The inverted Omega. Yes.
Yeah. And even, Steppenwolf's, the thought that they put into with Steppenwolf's armor.
Yeah.
When Zack was kind of describing that, well, even before that, when we saw, I think it was the DC Phantom trailer, Steppenwolf, when he lands in Themyscira, and you start seeing, I didn't notice it at first, but like, his armor starts spiking up.
Yes.
And we're like, oh, wow, it moves. Like,
yeah.
That's such an awesome detail.
I remember the first time I ever saw that armor, and it happened to be in the costume designer's office on the wall. Yeah. There was a CG sort of render of what it was going to be, and I was like, what the hell is that? Oh my God. And it reminded me a little, I think it may be in England and it may be in this country, and I'm probably not remembering it right, but somebody took all of the knives that had been confiscated over a few years from a police department and made an angel out of them.
Oh, wow.
Kind of as an anti-knife crime statement.
Okay.
But the armor, when I saw that, it brought to mind that.
Yeah.
Yes, spiky boy.
Yeah.
Spiky boy.
To hear Zack kind of describe that they wanted it to kind of be like this living extension of him, it was like, wow, that is.
Well, and you see it when he's bowing.
Yeah.
When he's bowing, and you see it coming away.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
It's just, yeah. And even when Zack had mentioned that at one point, because I kind of hadn't even thought about it, but I remember during the trailer breakdown that he did on Vero, someone asked him, is that his body or is that his armor? And I was like, oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But when Zack said it's his armor, and at one time we see him kind of without it, I was like, well, how are we going to see him without it? You know, but then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, just goes away. It's pretty cool.
It looks
pretty cool. One thing I do know about it is you can't put that in the dryer. You gotta line dry that. Don't stick it in a tumble dry low. Forget it. Don't stick a bounce sheet in with it. No, nothing. You just got to air dry that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he looks very reptilian. Like he kind of has like a reptilian thing to him. And it's just. There's
a really interesting sort of, I think what makes them scary in a way is that they're sort of like us, but just wrong enough.
Yeah.
Just wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Which I love. It's really cool.
I'm so excited to see it.
Yes. Any more questions?
A personal question.
Yeah.
Do you have like a vivid memory of either as like a child or a younger adult, like a really vivid cinematic or artistic experience that had made like an impact on you?
Oh, several.
Yeah,
several. I remember being a little kid and going to the movies, and it was back in the days when they had double features. And there was a kids movie first, and then this is like back in the days when I was so small, I would sit in the movie theater, and you know, the movie seats that fold up, my legs weren't big enough to hold them down. So they would just fold my legs up and I would sit and watch the movie. But they were re-showing a James Bond movie, and that like changed everything for me. I was like, whoa, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm old enough to have gone to the theater in 77 and seen the first Star Wars movie, which was, I mean, earth-shattering. Several experiences where, you know, it just kind of, the analogy I've always used is that it really cracked the sky for me. You know, there's music that I heard at one point, and it's like, wow, everything's different now, you know, or a certain film you see, or even a painting or a poem or a piece of literature where you're like, my world just got a little bit larger.
Yeah.
And I think everybody kind of has those. Timely, as a child, my favorite book, and still my favorite book, honestly, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
We just lost Norton Juster.
Oh, he
died at 91. Yeah, he wrote a book called The Phantom Toll Booth, which is, I mean, if you haven't read it, read it.
Okay.
I remember reading that book as a kid and like, wow, the world's a different place now, having had that experience, you know? Yeah. Several. There isn't, I can't point at one thing and like, that changed everything. Yeah. It's a lot of, you know, wow, the world's bigger. Wow, the world's even bigger. Whoa, it's, you know, what a wonderful thing, you know? Yeah.
Was it kind of just like was there something specific that was like, okay, this is what I want to act? Or was that kind of all just layered as well?
I sort of grew up, it was kind of the family business. My mother was an actor, singer, dancer, you know, Broadway, did a bunch of other things. My grandfather, her father, was involved with the circus from
interesting.
Like the 30s onward, and also was publicity advance man for touring Broadway shows around the country, and was always kind of in show business. So it was always sort of in the furniture of the house, you know, it was always in the vernacular.
It was part of,
just part of, that's what my family does, you know, kind of thing. But it was, you know, you get into high school and you're told a lot of stuff, you know, like, well, the choices you make now will affect you for the rest of your, you know, all that stuff. And like, I was like, well, no, I don't want to be in show business. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to, and then I saw a production of a George Bernard Shaw play called Heartbreak House. Something about that production, I left the theater and I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah. It just struck a chord.
Yeah. So I went to college and starved, and graduated and starved for a little while, and then went to work at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival and didn't look back. I was at OSF in Ashland for 18 seasons.
Oh, wow.
Doing classical theater and running around yelling with swords. And I mean, how is that not fun?
Grown up dress up.
Oh man.
In the best
around
way.
In armor with swords, yelling and screaming. Dude, it's great. And started doing TV and film a little bit in the off season from the theater. I would come down to LA and work and, do TV shows and films and things like that. And so learned a lot, from that experience. Yeah.
So would you still, if you had to choose, would you choose stage over film?
No, I would never choose. Both are really fun and both are amazing and both require completely different things of you as an actor. Stylistically, technically, all of that stuff. I wouldn't choose one over the other. They're
on the same playing field for you.
Yeah. They're both great fun.
Yeah.
There's things about doing theater that are marvelous and that I love. There's things about doing film that I love as well.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you and our other beloved Ray Fisher.
Ray Fisher worked at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival in Ashland too. Yep. In fact, just after I left is when Ray came to the theater. So he and I never worked together there, sadly. I'd love to do something with him. I think Zack should direct me and Ray and Harry Lennox in a Shakespeare show.
That would be awesome. Because
there we go. I'm putting it out there.
You all kind of shared that. I mean, Harry Lennox, And speaking of voices, oh my goodness. I'm excited to hear that one too.
I've admired him for years. Yeah.
Yeah. Another perfect casting decision by Zack.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear and see too. But that one I think I want to save for the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Another great surprise that we'll get. Do you have a dream character or role type of character?
That's tough. Yeah, there's a couple that I'd love to do. There's a couple of Shakespearean roles I haven't done yet that I really would like to do. Iago from Othello. I'd love to. I'm old enough. I'd love to have a go at Prospero, eventually King Lear, Leontes in Winter's Tale, that sort of thing. Film, TV, that's a little more sort of fluid. God, I'd love to be a Jedi. I'd love to be in the Star Wars universe. That would
doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon. So
no, that would be pretty incredible. Although they gotta start getting desperate for stories to put this in a Jedi. I love fantasy, sci-fi, that sort of stuff. It's just amazing and great. Looking the way that I do, I've played a lot of like drug dealers and unsavory characters in Hollywood, on TV. But, I would have loved to have been involved in Game of Thrones right up to about season 7 and then gotten out of it to season 8. Jesus. There's a lot. There's tons of stuff I look at and it's like, I wish I was in that, just because it would be fun.
Yeah, so. Exactly. So I know you and Ray Fisher kind of have, this support for each other that we see as fans. Do you have any other relationships with any other cast members? Because I guess we don't really have a good sense of how much time you spent with other cast members. I was around, a
little bit, but not working on the same timeline or on the same days as several of the other cast members. But everybody I met, was great, really nice. Ray and I have the commonality of OSF. We also have some friends in common. And so there's that history you know. He's probably out of that sort of the league. He's the person I know best.
Okay. Yeah.
I worked with Ben. Ben directed me in Argo.
That's right. Yeah.
But Ray is a guy that, I think the world of him as a man and as an actor.
Absolutely.
Good guy.
We stand with Ray Fisher here.
Yes.
At the Hive. Every day. Have you ever been starstruck?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people I guess it's kind of a thing, like some people, well, not in a conceited way, but I guess some people in this business, they've kind of just become used to.
No, there's certain people, there are certain people that I admire them a great deal, and I have high regard for their work, or they've meant a lot to me, and I'm perfectly fine talking to them, no problem. There's been a couple of times I've been tongue-tied. One was there's a musician named Richard Thompson who I really, really admire as a guitar player, as a musician, he's just incredible. And I saw him at a guitar shop in Santa Monica. And I was just going to go over and say hello and thank you for all the stuff you've done. And I walked over and I said, Mr. Thompson. He turned around and I said, yeah. And I went, it was useless.
Right.
I think if I ever met an Apollo astronaut, I'd probably be the same way. I'd just geek out hard about that stuff.
Yeah.
I'd say the closest that I ever came as far as being starstruck, just the magnitude of what they mean culturally and, as an actor and all of that was when I met Kirk Douglas.
Okay.
Pretty like, whoo.
Yeah.
But most of the other people that I know that, that you would know, are just good people.
Yeah.
So
it just feels kind of like, oh, they're easy to talk to.
Just sort of like, yeah. Just good people.
Yeah.
So.
But there's just those certain experiences that were like,
there's some. Okay, I will tell you. I was at the Batman versus Superman premiere in London. And before the movie started, kind of milling around, and I turned around and there was Mark Hamill.
Oh, okay.
And I had to say something, but what the hell do I say? And he kind of looked at me and I was like, you are amazing. He's like, thanks, man. And that was all. And I walked away. I was like, oh my God, Mark Hamill. But again, I wasn't speaking to Mark Hamill. I was speaking to my memories of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Do you know there's a difference?
We kind of see, we see them as those characters, even though we know that they have a regular life outside of that. But it's like, if we were somewhere and Henry Cavill was there,
sure,
my kids would even me, be like, that's Superman.
Oh yeah.
So it's like that just,
well, there's that symbology. I can tell you, I was on the set when Henry came out in the Superman suit, when Ben came out in the Batman suit.
Yeah. And
it's that suit, man, that's some power. That's some magic. That's, and it isn't about it being Henry or Ben anymore. It's like, oh my God, there's Batman, there's Superman.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. It's pretty cool.
I can imagine it would be surreal because, first of all, Michael Wilkinson,
brilliant designer.
The costumes, it's been,
brilliant designer.
They're so beautiful. And even when we have seen pictures or behind the scenes stuff, just set pictures or behind the scenes videos, they still look like beautiful, and they're not even in this high definition, cinema quality, because sometimes you get set photos of certain, and you're like, But it's because it's just that way.
Costumes designed for the camera, you know, like when you go to see it. I know there's that exhibit of the costumes in Dallas right now, and people have been stoked about them, which is great. But I know that I've seen some costumes, some famous costumes in the flesh, and seeing them, you know, this close to you, because they weren't designed for that. They were designed for camera. I was like, what is that all there is? What is
a little underwhelming?
Yeah, in a weird way, because they're designed to read for the camera. But people seem to, I've seen reports from people going to see that exhibit, and they're just as blown away. And I can tell you, having been this far away from them, that, Michael Wilkinson is a great designer. Absolutely.
It's just, really. I mean, a lot of times we'll see stuff off camera or off, you know, just from the set, stuff that gets out, and you're like, okay, well, it'll probably look, you expect it to look better in the movie.
Sure.
But those are just an exception, those suits. And I mean, it would be.
I'm just all VFX, man. That's just.
But that's a whole nother thing too.
Yeah.
That could take you out. It's true. Of a movie.
I'm looking forward to, like, you know, at some point being like, I played Darkseid in the movie. No, you didn't. That wasn't you.
Ask people. Was. Yeah, it was.
Yes, it was. It was me. Yeah.
Was this a unique, as far as your narration, and was it a unique voice that you had to find, or have you ever kind of played with that before?
No, it was totally unique. Honestly, I've never done, I mean, I've done voices similar, but this came from someplace else.
In here? Or here?
Actually,
or both?
Here. It actually was in here, as far as like where the voice resonates.
Chest voice.
Yeah, it was very, I mean, like stomach voice, basically. You know, and even still, I mean, it takes me a second to like try to recreate it, you know, and it's not very loud. I'm like right on a microphone, actually on this very microphone. As a matter of fact, I recorded for some additional stuff for the movie on my home mic here. So
that's what I was wondering when you mentioned that you did some of the dialogue.
Yes.
In there, when you said that on another stream recently, and I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting, because that wouldn't have happened during way back when. Right. So that was recently.
Yeah. Zack called me and said, there's a couple of additional things we need. And, you know, you have a home studio, right? I'm like, yeah, from audiobooks. Yes. Do. So.
Was it, I want to say easy, because it's not easy, but were you able to kind of just like turn it back on?
Oh, absolutely. I remember it vividly.
So it sounded the same as what you remembered doing before.
Yeah, definitely. It's not that it's, I mean, to me, it didn't sound the same. It felt the same. There's the musculature involved in doing it, you know? And you have to get like really close to the microphone in order to do it for that proximity.
Seems that way.
Yeah.
Because it's so
dumb. Not a voice you can do loudly. You know, you try to drop it down, then get around here vocally. You know, sort of in the vicinity.
Oh, I got the chills. It's just, I tell you, I have a thing for voices. My first, I mean, I've always loved art, creativity. I mean, all forms of art. But I guess my first one that I mean, probably my first love will always be music. So
yeah, me too.
I mean, voices are just, I go crazy for certain voices, but that's kind of been an interesting thing for me with this whole movie, is that I've always loved movies like most people, or had, you know, favorite ones growing up that are still some of my favorite movies forever.
Right.
Favorite actors, all that kind of thing. But the way music has been for me, like emotionally, I've never had that kind of experience with movies. Sometimes, I mean, you know, movies will make you cry, or, you know, you have someone like Leonardo DiCaprio that just will make you believe everything in the movie, you know, like those certain actors that you're just like, wow. But never like it's just a different feeling, I guess, with this whole Snyder Cut movement and when I see Man of Steel and BVS. And I guess part of that is kind of because of music too, the way the scores have been paired with the movie.
Sure.
And it's just like a whole different experience. Speaking of that, Junkie XL has 4 hours of score coming out.
Yes.
Have you heard all of it? No? Have you heard Darkseid's theme?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. I mean, not that I guess you'd be
looking
able to
forward to hearing it.
But
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it, but no.
Me too. Some of the samples that he played on the vodka stream were, and that was almost, and that's just coming through his computer. So it's kind of like that,
Yeah.
But
no, everything I've heard so far has been phenomenal. So.
And we have gotten a few official release ones that you can listen to in good quality, but I mean, it just really changes the whole experience of the movie.
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
For those of us that did see the theatrical, those kind of things change your experience. But
for you veterans, yes.
And to think that he started over is just like,
yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of music.
Well, let's talk a little bit about those VFX artists and the amount of work they had to put in an incredibly short amount of time.
Yes,
I mean, it wasn't just a simple thing of opening a box and going, "Here's this." I mean, a lot of that stuff, I'm sure, I'm speculating, a lot of that stuff had to be completely redone, recreated, brand new things, all of that. And think about how short an amount of time that was all done. The VFX artists on this film, mad respect.
Yeah.
Mad respect.
Because Zack said, I mean, it's just under 3,000 or something of visual effects shots. That's, I mean, I know it's 4 hours. I mean, we expect these movies to have a lot of CG, but for 4 hours, and like they've said, stuff that had to just be completely like, I mean, this was filmed a long time ago.
Yeah.
Except for the few things that were new, but not much.
No.
It's
enormous.
Yeah. And I remember Deborah saying on her interviews that they wanted a year to finish the movie, and they were like, no, March. So, I mean, I can't, it's just, I imagine them just working around the clock as much as they could personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to respect your time.
Okay.
So you tell me, I mean,
I should probably go fairly soon.
Yeah. Okay.
If you've got any other questions,
I think, well, I guess that one of my, you kind of answered some of my other questions as far as like, when we were talking about finding the voice. Oh, Zack brought this up. I think it was when you guys were together, when he showed up for a while on the vodka stream while you were there. That was great.
Which was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. He said that, I think the question came up about choosing you.
Uh-huh.
You were there in London at the time?
I was in England, yes.
Okay. Just by coincidence?
No, I was there with someone who was working on the film.
Okay. So you kind of knew already what was going on.
Right. And I had gotten to know Zack a little bit before that, and he knew that I had done a lot of work narrating, and he likes to hear scripts. He likes to hear the words spoken. And so I went in a couple of times and was speaking the scripts for him. And then at one point he asked if I could do, hey, can you do this voice? And I was like, sure. And I gave it a go. And, like what he said, which blew me away. But as he said on the other stream, they didn't find anybody better. So here I am.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So did he just tell you right then and there?
No, I heard about it. You're going to get cast as this role. I was like,
okay.
Huh? and then did it. Came from England to LA to do some mocap stuff and some vocal stuff. Did more vocal stuff in London. Did some other things in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Okay.
kind of spread out over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after you had that little, I guess, like, it's kind of an audition.
Sorry. Yeah.
Was it a long time before you found out?
No, I can't remember the actual timeline. It wasn't that long.
Okay.
And I only vaguely remember the conversation, but like, hey, can you do this voice? Yeah. And then I didn't think anything of it.
Because you weren't going in for like an official.
No, it wasn't.
Audition.
Here's your headshot. Hello. Be at this place. It wasn't anything like that. It was, and yeah, exactly. It wasn't that at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was, that I was there and he had known, stuff that I could do and all of that. And he just asked at one point, can you do this? And I said, yeah, and did. And
did he give you a description of what he was looking for?
No.
He was just this is the character.
I kind of saw it. In the text, I sort of knew what was up. And, yeah.
An instant, and did his reaction kind of give you like?
I didn't really necessarily see a reaction. I didn't think anything of it.
Well, that could be a good thing.
No, I didn't think anything of it. It wasn't like a stand up, hi, I'm Ray and I'm 6 feet tall and here's this, it wasn't anything like that. It was very different.
It was just casual kind of.
Yeah. And it was, and then I was cast and it was like, okay, here we go, Yeah.
Well, that's pretty interesting because you didn't really have time to kind of like, try different sounds to see, I like this one. You kind of just were on the spot. And you kind of automatically knew.
Kind of, yeah. I'm good on the fly. And I think Zack may have made a couple of adjustments and different things to try and tried them and was able to do them and it seemed to work. So
that's awesome.
At the gig. Yeah.
And that's without, I guess if it's just real quick, you don't have to warm up that much, but to do like you were talking about earlier, hours of dialogue.
It can be very tiring. And, but you learn also, I think being an actor in Los Angeles, you learn to be a fast study. You make a choice and you go with it. And if it works, if it's something that the director wants, then everybody's happy.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way all the time. Sure wish it happened that way a little more. But it's what it is.
Yeah.
You learn to see something, get an idea, make a committed choice and go for it. And
right.
So, yeah.
And it worked.
Yes, it did.
For this one. But do you have to, did you have to, do you have to take breaks? Do you kind of know how long you can, with that voice?
Yeah.
Because it's so, it's a lot harder on your,
it's tough. There was never a moment where it was like, okay, I need a minute, right. But, because I also am making choices that I can sustain.
Okay. That makes sense.
Making a choice vocally, while it sounds really difficult to do the voice, I've got it in a place where I can do it and it isn't going to exhaust me, or destroy my cords or anything like that. Because the other problem is there's a whole lot of people who really are working very, very hard, like physical hard work on a film set. And if you're having to stop every 3 minutes because your voice is tired, you're doing them a grave disservice. So, you get in, get it done as best you can and get the hell out.
Yeah. And like you said, it's your thing. So you kind of just learn.
Yeah.
Just like singers, eventually they perform song after song on stage and. Precisely.
It's an instrument, you just learn to do what you got to do to get it done.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
We're going to get one more trailer.
We are?
We're supposed to.
Okay, cool. I'm telling you, I'm the last to know.
Is there anything you'd like to see specifically? Without, of course, like giving something away.
I don't know. There's so much I want to see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just whatever we get.
Yes. I mean, everything we've gotten so far has been amazing with 5 or 10 surprises in it. You know, I'm just looking forward to appreciating the next one and really looking forward to seeing the film.
Yeah, I agree. Just like whatever they give us, I'm just going to enjoy it. And
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Been long enough not to.
And then go out and watch the reactions. I'll come to your channel and watch your reaction.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
I really love doing that because it's just like, I mean, yeah, it's just.
Oh, it's the best. It's the most instant gratification in the world for somebody who's a performer to go and see somebody who's excited about what you're doing and to see that reaction. It's the greatest thing in the world. Yeah. But then also secondarily, I mean, even stuff that isn't me, you know, just seeing the joy that people have and the excitement people have about this film it's infectious. It's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And frankly, over the last year, any reason to smile is a good one. So,
yeah, I agree. It's been, it doesn't even feel, I mean, the year felt long.
Can you believe it's been a year?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was about to say. I mean, we got the announcement May 20th of last year. And was that when you first found out?
Well, you mean on that stream when he held up the sign? Yeah, that's when I found out. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I had suspicions.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I didn't have but again, you know, I think people credit me with having a lot more inside knowledge than I really do.
They're like, you're Darkseid, you know everything.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Would I tell you if I knew? Of course not.
That's the thing. Yeah, you can't tell us everything that you do know. No. Yeah, that was one of my questions too. What you were doing, but I mean, you didn't get like a hard phone call that was like, this is happening.
Hey, this is happening on this day. No.
Yeah, no. Okay.
No, I found out like everyone else did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because I vividly remember that. I mean, in the days leading up to that, there were certain, I guess you would call them scoopers, that were saying like, you're really going to want to watch the Man of Steel watch party.
No, definitely. And there was a lot of speculation. And again, I had my own sort of internal reasons for suspecting that it would happen. Right. But as to when, no idea on what, in what way, no idea. So when he brought that up, that it was going to be on HBO Max, I immediately went to the App Store, downloaded HBO Max and subscribed immediately. But no, I mean, I found out like everybody else did.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
It was really fun.
I remember like when people were saying that, watch it, you're going to be happy. I was just like, this could be it. But I was like, hold on. A part of me was still like, don't get too excited because if it's not, it's going to be really disappointing.
God, could there be a more elephant in the room when that Q&A is happening and everybody's just like, I'm sitting there like, just ask the question, ask, and finally she did. And he, and the way they did it was just masterful.
Yeah.
Henry, I reckon you should show them.
I know. As soon as when he showed up at the end of the movie, when the movie ended, that was when I really felt like, okay, I think we're going to
happening.
Yeah. Because it's his movie, but I didn't think he would just show up. I mean, I just was like, I think this is important that he's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when he said, I reckon you should just show them, I was like, what's happening? Like, I think I cried that day.
Yeah. It was wonderful.
I definitely cried when we got the DC Fandom trailer.
Yeah.
It was just a really different experience from getting a movie trailer in general.
The first time I saw that trailer with Hallelujah playing was really emotional for so many reasons. And again, part of this, and it cannot be, you can't forget about it. Part of this is a love note to the people who have stood by and been committed for such a long time.
And that was exactly how it felt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you could put a love letter in trailer, a movie trailer. If you could, that's what it felt like.
Yeah,
100%. And I remember telling my husband, do you think we'll see Darkseid? And he was like, no. Going back to our little debates, I guess, it's become a theme during this discussion.
You guys got to make bets. You guys got to start making bets.
He was like, no. And as soon as we pulled it up, I was like, I told you. First thing we saw. And I was like, Zack is tired of waiting. He's been sitting on this for so long, like fun. Not being able to show us. And I think that was actually the first interaction I had with you on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I remember with no expectation, I was like, he's probably getting like bombarded right now.
A lot. Yeah. A bunch. Yeah.
I remember asking you, and I still have the screenshot. I was like, I remember asking you.
You have a screen? Oh.
Yes, of course. Okay. It was a momentous occasion. I remember asking you what it felt like to see that being the opening, like the first thing we saw in the trailer. And I mean, within probably like 20 minutes, you replied, and I was like, oh, wow, that is so awesome. Because I really was like, this has to be, cathartic.
Very much so.
And just, I mean, not even wasting any time getting into the trailer. That was the first thing we saw. We were just all so happy for you.
Well, it's, again, very grateful to everyone.
And we are too. Like I said, I'm going to respect your time.
Thank you.
So, because this is definitely.
Well, hopefully there'll be some things in here you can use.
Oh, more than enough.
Good.
Good. It's been really great. And again, just so thankful to everything that you have done to support the fandom.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, being so involved with us, and you're always welcome here.
Thank you. And I wish you the best of luck with your channel. I mean, your stuff is insightful and enthusiastic. You're emotionally available. You're so articulate. It's really great. And I wish you all the best with it.
Thank you.
You deserve the success. You got a good thing going. Your presence of heart with your reactions and your insight is,
that means, thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot. That really does.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate it so much. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Do I get to say hi to the husband?
Yeah.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the interview with Ray Porter. I had such a blast talking to him. He is always welcome on this channel, and hopefully, maybe we can get together again and do a live stream next time. But either way, it was an absolute blast chatting with him. He's so generous, and so hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys again soon.